Hey guys, Ryan here, and in this video I'm going to be covering what I believe are the best mods that you can install for Skyrim Special Edition in 2023. Now, all these mods that are going to be covered in this video can be downloaded from Nexus mods, and you can also manage them using a mod organizer tool such as Vortex or Mod Organizer 2. Now for this video I'll be using the Steam version of Skyrim Special Edition with the Anniversary Edition DLC installed, and this is going to be run on Windows 11 using a RTX 3060 and an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. Although if you use Linux instead of Windows, you can run this game using Steam Proton, and that does include all the mods that are going to be covered in this video. So the mods in this video will range from bug fixes, restored content, graphical upgrades, quality of life changes, new UI elements, new NPC behaviours, as well as some performance enhancements. So without further ado, let's have a look at the first mod on the list. So first on the list is the A Quality World Map mod, and this is a mod that provides a new set of highly detailed 3D or paper world map textures, complete with roads for the Skyrim mainland as well as the island of Solstheim. And when you download this mod, there's actually quite a few options to choose from, although I tend to stick with the classic with all roads options, but it's completely up to you at the end of the day. But either way, the result is you'll now have a map that can be used for navigation, as paths and roads that are now clearly defined, which of course is more helpful for the more obscure off the beat path locations in the game, such as ones that are typically found in the mountains. The Achievement Mod Enabler. Now next up is the Achievement Mod Enabler mod, and this restores the ability for you to obtain Steam achievements when you have any mods installed. Now strangely, with the release of official mod support in Skyrim, Bethesda made the decision to stop you from obtaining achievements if you installed any type of mod, which doesn't really make sense because Skyrim is a single player game and they don't stop you from spawning items using the console, and that doesn't seem to have any consequence. But in either case, if you install this mod, it will once again allow you to obtain achievements regardless of how many mods you've got installed. Alternative Start, Live Another Life. So chances are if you've played Skyrim several times, then the game always starts the same. You get captured, you choose your starting race, dragon attacks Helgen, and then you end up escaping in the mayhem. And the entire process takes about 20 minutes to run through the sequence. However, the Alternative Start mod allows you to completely bypass the vanilla beginning of the game and forge your own path. You might want to start as the newest member of a local guild, a shopkeeper, a hunter in the woods, a patron in a local bar, someone who's just been attacked and lost everything, a member of the Imperial Legion, the survivor of a shipwreck, or just an orc who lives his entire life in a stronghold. Now regardless of the starting origin you choose, it doesn't lock you out of any quest lines, but what it does do is allow you to choose your own role-playing adventure, and it comes highly recommended. Convenient Horses. So the horses in Skyrim are stupid. They attack anything hostile on sight, including dragons, and in most cases, especially with high level enemies, they end up getting themselves killed, and that's just wasted you 1,000 gold. Now of course the exception to the rule is Shadowmare, who is pretty much immortal in this game. But regardless, she still thinks it's a great idea to fight a fire-breathing dragon in the middle of the countryside. Now the Convenient Horses mod changes all that, as horses are now ignored by enemies and don't randomly attack things. In addition, they now have skills that can be leveled up, which in most cases basically equates to extra health or stamina, meaning they can sprint for longer distances. Also, with the mod installed, horses can now carry things, they can be fitted with armour, they can be recalled by using either a horse whistle or a horn, or most importantly, your companions can now ride horses as well, assuming of course you want to cough up the 1,000 gold and trust them to go and buy a horse. I mean, one thing I always found funny about the vanilla game was that it was rather silly that I could ride a horse and then I look around and there's a follower just chasing after me on foot. And either way, in short, in the vanilla game, aside from Shadowmare, I never bothered with horses. However, with this mod installed, I actually use them now to travel throughout Skyrim. Cutting Room Floor. Now, there's no doubt that Skyrim is a massive game. However, the more you play it, you might start to notice that things seem to be missing in certain parts of the world, and you're probably right to think that. And what the Cutting Room Floor mod does is adds these things back into the world. For example, they may add a quest that wasn't finished by Bethesda due to various reasons. Additional items are now inserted into the world. You've got new NPC interactions and extra dialogue, as well as other pieces of cut content. In other words, this is a simple little mod that does a lot. Footprints. So, the world of Skyrim has a lot of snow, and it also has a bit of ash as well. However, one strange thing is that no one ever seems to leave any footprints in the world of Skyrim. Well, the footprint mod fixes this, as now creatures, NPCs, and your character will leave footprints with particle effects as they move through the snow and the ash. Now honestly, I'm surprised they never added this into the game once they released Skyrim Special Edition, but all the same, it's a fantastic mod, and I recommend you install it today. Immersive Citizens. So the NPCs in Skyrim, much like horses, do have questionable intelligence at sometimes, especially when it comes to dangerous situations. Therefore, the Immersive Citizens mod aims to improve the AI of friendly NPCs to make them react like true humans when it comes to danger. Now, in most cases, this means that guards will now actively defend an area, which makes sense, whilst a shopkeeper or an NPC with a non-combat role will avoid combat, which again makes sense. Now, the mod also adds routines to NPCs, which means that at certain times of the day they may visit a tavern, have more interaction with the player character, or even go and explore more of the city. All in all, it means that NPCs will not simply stick to one area for the entire playthrough, which honestly is far more realistic. Again, this is a great little mod that adds something into the game that should have really been there to start with. Immersive Patrols. So Skyrim makes use of what I've known as random encounters, and this is at certain points in the game you'll experience a scripted event. Now this could be anything from a bandit outpush, a dragon attack, a unique NPC, a group of NPCs travelling from one location to another, or even sometimes an old orc who challenge you to a fight to the death. Now what the Immersive Patrols mod does is it adds Stormcloak, Falmer, Imperial and Dawnguard patrols to Skyrim, as well as a couple of Roman Skarls, Reavers and Reclins to Solstheim. Now sometimes these patrols can cross paths with each other, and if they're on opposing factions, they'll start scrapping with each other, which again creates something new and unique to the character. Now the mod also adds full-scale battles between the Stormcloak and Imperial soldiers, whilst the Skyrim Civil War questline is still active, which does mean that you may be attacked on sight, especially if you've chosen your legions on the opposite side. But like many mods in this video, adding content just to expand the variety that a player can experience is always a good thing. Immersive Sounds. So after playing Skyrim for so long and then playing other action-based RPGs, I've come to the conclusion that the sound effects in Skyrim do leave a lot to be desired. Whilst I can make the argument that the dragon shouts are cool to hear, other mundane noises such as the sound of armour shuffling whilst moving, the sounds of weapons hitting armour pieces, spell effects, or even the groans of the Draugr sound a bit flat. And this is where the Immersive Sound mod comes in, and it completely overhauls the sound in game. Spells now sound louder and more damaging, weapons make appropriate noises when they clash, arrows now whiz through the air, armour feels heavy and clunky, and comical noises such as when a sneak attack is performed can now be silenced. As at the end of the day, there's nothing more immersive breaking than line up the perfect shot, letting it go, only to hear a donk noise when the arrow hits. Now there's also some other nice tweaks involved as well, such as a noise when you pick up items such as gems, gold or potions, and when you open up a chest it now makes a creaky noise, which is nice as well. Now this is a mod that I always have installed, as honestly I can't play with the vanilla sounds anymore. JK's Skyrim. So while Skyrim does have several locations, towns and cities to explore, some of the more smaller settlements seem to be sparsely populated, and in most cases a village might contain just a couple of buildings, some crops and then some NPCs. The JK Skyrim mod fixes this by adding more content to the various settlements in the world, making them more memorable. For example, the Skyforge in Whiterun now actually looks like a forge, and that's complete with displayed iron pieces and a smelter. In addition, each town now has a particular theme. For example, Riverwood has a theme for lumber, Rorikstead has a theme for farming, Falkreath has a graveyard, Dawnstar has a port, and Dragonbridge is now a defensive outpost. Some locations also have new vendors, and the allegiance of the town will change depending on the progress of the Civil War questline. In short, this mod does enhance the game, making locations more useful to play a character, and making the world more lived in. No spinning death animation. So enemies in Skyrim are very flexible, and sometimes when you kill them there is weird twisty animation where they slump on the floor, which is both hilarious and disturbing at the same time. Now of course this completely breaks immersion, as no one would do this in real life. Therefore the no spinning death animation mod does just that. It removes the spinning around dance animation that the NPCs do just before dying, and instead they just ragdoll when they're killed. Now the mod also removes certain creatures' death pause animations, which call them to use all momentum, and animation snap upon dying, as well as remove any physical push based on your attacks. In other words, they don't fly off into the distance anymore. A great little mod to install, and it's one that I find essential, especially if I'm taking part in some melee combat. Relationship Dialogue Overhaul. So one of the things you'll notice as you play through the game is that followers will often repeat their dialogue, which can get annoying after a while, especially after hearing Lydia's sarcastic responses to you when you ask her to carry something. Therefore, the Relationship Dialogue Overhaul mod adds over 5,000 lines of completely voiced dialogue for NPCs using their original voices, which basically means that friends, followers, spouses, rivals, and other people now have much more to say. The mod also fixes some dialogue bugs and restores cut content so that you may actually hear your followers say something that you've never heard before. So as someone that likes using followers in this game, it is nice to hear something different occasionally whilst I'm exploring Skyrim. Run for your lives. Now I mentioned this earlier in the video, but like horses, NPCs in Skyrim can be stupid. They blindly run into combat when dragons or vampires attack, especially in Whiterun at the gate, which normally ends up with several dead merchants. The Run for Your Lives mod therefore makes it so that citizens in a village or city will now run indoors during these attacks, although guards, members of the Companion, the Vigilance of Stendar, as well as the player's followers, will not run, but instead they'll stand and fight. Now the mod author does mention that this mod was created out of the frustration of every person trying to be a hero and then not surviving, which is exactly the reason I recommend you install this mod in your game. Skylander All In One. So when it comes to modding graphic mods in Skyrim, it quickly becomes a rabbit hole. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of graphical mods available for Skyrim, including covering texture and flora overhauls, landscape and water replacers, snow mods, and so on and so forth. Therefore, just for this video, I'm going to be recommending one, and that's the Skylander All In One. And this is a collection of all the Skylander mods bundled together, featuring high quality and resolution texture overhauls for architecture and landscapes. So Skylander is created using 4K 3D scans of real-world surfaces and offers the most realistic visual overhaul in Skyrim. It covers cities, towns and villages to forts, dungeons and caves, as well as landscapes from the Rift to the Reach and beyond. Now, out of all the graphical mods I've installed in Skyrim, this does appear to be one of the more consistent ones, but just bear in mind that the mod itself does weigh in at around 6 gig. Next up, we have a complementary mod for Skyland that provides a preset LOD or level of detail for when you have this Skylander All-in-One mod installed. In simple terms, level of detail is a generic or general design term for video game landscapes in which closer objects are rendered with more polygons than objects that are located further away. In other words, with this mod installed, you'll be able to see the Skyland modded textures at greater distances, which is why I recommend you install both the Skylander All-in-One as well as the accompanying LOD for the best experience. SkyUI. So the user interface for Skyrim was designed with a controller in mind, so it can be a bit jarring if you're playing the game with a mouse and a keyboard. The best solution I've found is to install the SkyUI mod, which describes itself as an elegant, PC-friendly interface with many advanced features. Now, one of these advanced features is the ability to add new HUD elements. My favourite is visible durations for summons and flesh spells, which, in the vanilla game, there was no way of knowing how much time a spell or effect had without going into the menus. The mod also supports third-party mod integration, so if you've got a mod that supports it, you can now configure the mod through the mod manager section in the game's menu, whereas previously you had to go through a spelling game to configure said mods. This is a much cleaner way of doing it, and for someone who uses a mouse and keyboard for RPGs, this mod is a godsend and I strongly recommend it. Next up is SSE Display Tweaks, which is a mod that provides an all-in-one solution for smooth FPS unlocked gameplay, including physics fixes, borderless full-screen performance boosts, refresh rate control, highly configurable frame rate limiting, various bug fixes, and a lot more. In other words, you can now play Skyrim at a frame rate higher than the standard 60 FPS, and most importantly, without the game engine bugging out, which is typically what happens if you manually disable VSync through the game's config files. So as someone that has a 165Hz refresh rate monitor, Skyrim running at 120 FPS is a fantastic experience. I strongly recommend installing this mod if you've got similar hardware. The unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. So one of the running jokes about Bethesda games is that they tend to be buggy at release, which over time gets patched. However, years after, updates have stopped being released, which means there's still going to be several bugs that are left in Skyrim. And most of these are just minor bugs, usually item placements, perks not working correctly, weapons that don't have crafting recipes, or exploits to do with training skills. This is where the unofficial Skyrim Special Edition mod comes in, which is a comprehensive bug fixing mod, with the goal to eventually fix every bug in Skyrim Special Edition that was not officially resolved by the developers, of course to the limit of the creation kit and the community developed tools. But without a doubt, one of the most important mods you should install if you ever play Skyrim on PC, and it's certainly the first mod that I install when I'm playing a new character. Wet and Cold. So this is the final mod on the list, and it's the Wet and Cold mod. And this is a mod that adds weather-dependent visual effects and AI enhancements to the players and NPCs. More specifically, what this does is in colder climates, the player character, NPCs and some creatures are now going to have a visible breath animation when breathing. Rainfall and snow will also appear on the armour and clothing, and depending on their race, NPCs will actively seek shelter whenever it's raining or snowing. The mod also adds some weather-related clothings to the game's level lists. Typically these are scarves, gloves or hats, and they're often equipped whenever the weather turns, or alternatively found on bandits located at snowy locations. So much like the footprints mod from earlier, I was surprised that this was never implemented into the original game. So in conclusion, with that, I've covered what I believe are the best mods that you should install the next time you play Skyrim. Now of course, this is only the beginning, since there are thousands of mods available to install for this game, so let me know in the comments below if there's any that I should be checking out. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video, and if you did find it helpful, then please don't forget to leave a like, and subscribe to this channel for more content like this in the future. Thanks again, and I'll catch you next time. Bye now!